On today's episode, Graphic Man reads selected panels of Sergeant Fury 66 and Bugs Bunny 163 because he's a nut.
Can Sergeant Fury get away from the enemy while his hands are tied behind his back? As we open the book to page 1, we see Adolf Hitler standing triumphant with Sergeant Fury captured. The reason Sergeant Fury was captured was because the man standing next to him is a traitor named Erich Koenig, who tricked Nick Fury, and now our sergeant is helpless, and his hands are tied behind his back. Hitler tells Nick Fury that he won't be killed if he will simply renounce America, and that he fought on the wrong side. Thankfully, Nick Fury is made of tougher stuff than some of our current mayors and governors that we have these days. You can imagine how they would have crumbled immediately with this temptation to turn against America. But Fury smarts off at Hitler knowing he's going to die anyway. So he might as well die like a man. And he shoves Hitler in the face. But how, you say? His hands are tied behind his back. And that's just the problem, because in the very next panel, his hands are still tied behind his back. There's absolutely no explanation of how Nick Fury pulled off this stunt. Hitler goes on with his speech, and then Sergeant Fury is positioned down below Hitler to be executed. Once again, Fury basically says, "Let her rip." But before the execution can take place, some American aircraft fly in and start shooting. In all the confusion, Sergeant Fury makes his escape. And one of the bombs knocks Fury out momentarily, and you can clearly see his hands are still tied. There he is, in Germany, on his back, and his hands are tied. Fortunately for him, a German girl who was part of the resistance is there and covers Fury up with a blanket. She tells Fury to be quiet, and she'll bluff the soldiers into thinking he's her wounded brother. Sure enough, here comes the Nazi soldiers, and one of them starts asking a bunch of questions, as they're known to do. She tells the soldier that she's a German girl, and this is my wounded brother. The soldier wants to see some identification, which she produces. Then the soldier wants to see her wounded brother's identification, because there's an escaped American running around. But before he can get close to Fury, the German girl does some quick thinking. She kisses the Nazi soldier and gets his mind on other things. She tells the Nazi that she simply could not resist him and that she's been very lonely since the war started. It works. The soldier then asks her to meet him at a German bar later that night when he's off duty. She agrees, thinking she'll never run into this joker again. Fury has been sweating under the blanket, hoping the girl was convincing enough. Or was he busy getting those ropes untied? Because at the bottom of page 9, Fury wipes his brow in sheer disbelief that the soldier went away. Fury seems to be able to slip in and out of those ropes at ease. So, will Nick Fury get out of Germany alive? Probably, but I don't want to spoil the ending, as I'm sure you are now planning on getting your own copy of Sergeant Fury and his Howling Commandos number 66. But before we go, I wanted to point your attention to this issue of Bugs Bunny, because this one probably isn't on anyone's radar. But you might find it interesting that here in issue number 163 are some shapeshifter aliens.
The title of the story is The Planet of the Shapes, which you have to admit is somewhat clever.
Yes, literature lad, it's not hysterically funny, and at the same time, we've heard a lot worse. So we'll give it a B-. And this story starts off like you would expect a Bugs Bunny story to start, with Bugs stealing someone's carrots. But the scene shifts to outer space, where a criminal has escaped and ran off with a very fast spacecraft. The criminal is being pursued by their law enforcement, who unfortunately are using a slightly slower spaceship, so all they can do at the moment is track the criminal. And Bugs Bunny is about to have a close encounter with this shape-shifting criminal. Because of the crash landing, the alien checks his computer for any known information about what the beings on planet Earth look like. But during the crash landing, the onboard computers are malfunctioning, and it gives the alien some incorrect information. With this small piece of misinformation, the alien steps out of his spaceship and tries to find an earthworm. He overhears Yosemite Sam call Bugs a worm, and quite naturally assumes that this creature must be an earthworm. So he alters his appearance to look like Bugs Bunny, hoping to evade the alien authorities that will soon arrive on Earth. Which reminded me of the Skrulls, which first appeared in Fantastic Four #2. In which case, this particular alien breed might be distantly related to the Skrulls. But the shape-shifting aliens aren't just limited to the Skrulls. There's also the Pop-Upians, who first appeared in Fantastic Four #11. They also might be related to the Skrulls because they are naturally green. Although this new alien breed isn't naturally green, he seems to be more like a dire-wraith. The dire-wraiths are more lumpy and shaped like this new alien, although more ghost-like in appearance than brown. In fact, because they're brown, they look more like Clayface. And although Clayface was a shapeshifter, he's not an alien. But this new alien shapeshifter does seem to fit in nicely with the usual cast of characters. Even the early Marvel books like Amazing Fantasy 13, that's the book that would soon launch Spider-Man, had a shape-shifting alien species, and these aliens were very sneaky. They took on the shape of all television sets in 1962 and have been making our brains weaker and weaker for the last few decades. Meanwhile, back to Bugs Bunny, the good shapeshifters finally arrive on Earth, and they've been able to observe the criminal change into what looks like Bugs Bunny, so they are on the lookout for one of those. After capturing the real Bugs Bunny, they take him to their world, where they finally realize that they've made a mistake, and Bugs helps them shapeshift into an Earthman law enforcement officer. Back on Earth, the alien criminal has shapeshifted into a copy of Elmer Fudd, who doesn't talk the same as the real Elmer Fudd, and Bugs Bunny recognizes this. And in a scene right out of Marvel and DC, the criminal is apprehended just as if Reed Richards or Plastic Man would have done the job.
You know, Graphic Man, I doubt that anyone ever did a report on both of these books together at the same time.
No, literature lad, they're not as brave as we are. So long, everybody, and happy drawing.